what is like your take or advice on when it comes to niching down? Because I think it's also quite a big topic on LinkedIn and something that maybe
Yeah.
people struggle with, if they should niche, not, how to do it, etc. So what's your take on this?
Hmm. I love that you asked me that question because I actually have an opinion about that. In my case, like I've niched down and I've niched down hard, but I don't think it's the best advice to say you should niche down to everyone, because if you don't know who your niche is and who you like working with or who gets the most value from working with you, and you blindly decide that, you know what, this is because I've heard that, niches is where the money is made, I'm going to niche down hard. And they start with a very specific niche, but that's not true to them or their experiences. And they are not happy with it. They don't stick with it. They don't give it enough time to even thrive. And they just hop on another niche.
Yeah, this.
I don't think, yeah, right. And I don't think that's the best approach there. The end goal should be that you identify what's your strength, who you love working with, and what type of clients or people or businesses. And then you can niche down. But I love to advise to start wide, meaning have your themes, have your core pillars, so have your own subjects that you talk about, but they can be broad. They don't have to be to a very specific audience or a person. So start wide, see who you attract, who you enjoy working with and being with, and then you slowly and steadily, like, you can start niching down, but that has to make sense for you, right? And that was my case as well. I started very wide. I started first with just, in general, all sorts of students and graduates, which still, if you think about it, it is a niche, but it's wide. All sorts of graduates, all sorts of students. Then I switched to all sorts of executives and early career professionals. Again, pretty wide, but still I get specific topics through it. And then I made the shift to specifically professionals in the financial services industries, right? And that's already more of a niche. So I started wide.
Yep.
And transitioned and gave it some time. And I teach that to my business school students as well, that whenever you choose a niche, if so, you should stick with it for at least a year, 2 years, so that you have a full grasp of it. If you're hopping from niche to another, you won't get trust and you won't get enough experience to understand if that's something of your liking.
Yes, that is very true. And I don't want to bring up the topic of AI, but I feel like that sometimes I've, for example, seen that many people becoming AI experts because it's a big topic that keeps evolving. And of course, people want to hear more about it. And sometimes I felt like that they're emerging, all the time. But
Yeah,
it was
100%.
just a side note. I would just also
AI.
say that, like, if you pick the niche, don't be afraid, like, to change over time, because I think it's completely okay to try it, to find out that actually that's not the right one, or maybe I don't enjoy it,
Yep.
and just explore something else as well.
Yeah, I think it's completely fine. It's not like you're married to it. Obviously, you can you can change your mind, but at the same time, I think it needs to be given enough time for you to really understand if that's something that works.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
start, my advice, like, very briefly, start wide, niche down later. Very,
And
very brief.
and Mariam, I know you described kind of your experience or process now, but actually, out of curiosity, what made you end up in financial sector? Because, just curious, why not like a different
Yeah.
one, or why this specific one?
Yeah, I was working with lots of different types of individuals. So I work person to person. So even if they are representing company, I focus on their personal branding. So I had clients from all over the world in all sorts of industries. Like I had this document search engine CEO, I had aspiring K-pop star manager. So very, very different ones. And then I had M&A advisors, right? So I had sort of this wide niche and I was attracting wide audience, but majority of the people I was attracting were actually in finance field. So it was more of like also a natural flow of like who is the majority of my clientele and who is getting the best results from this, and also who do I enjoy working with the most. And I think the switch happened when I decided, okay, this is my best work based on all the case studies, and also the most fascinating because they're triple locked almost. It's not as straightforward as any other professional. For them, first, they most of the times come from a successful background. They have at least a good experience in big firms before starting up on their own firms, or they have this offline authority that they feel like if they market themselves or sound salesy, it's seen as a failure. So they're scared to take that step. So it's interesting part of coaching that goes into that there as well, which is the mindset. So I really enjoy that. The second is that they have to be compliant, right? So they are more of a locked into different compliance frameworks. They are things that they can say or cannot say. So it's always interesting to find ways around how storytelling and sharing personal insights can play around those brackets and can actually allow them to grow without going against the compliance. And that was very interesting for me to work with. And it was genuinely something I enjoyed. And I had great results. And so that's when I decided, okay, maybe this is my best work. So I need to focus on this and add the most value.
That all sounds good to me, and a good explanation. I completely understand.